Hey guys, Braden Maurer here. The key to losing body fat and keeping it off eternally boils down to your mindset. This entails everything from your inner dialogue to your environment and just simply being more mindful overall. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to construct a growth mindset for eternal fat loss. So, if you are a high performing man or woman of faith who aspires to lose body fat, keep it off eternally, and not be on some sort of weird restrictive diet trend, or give up your social life, then you're going to want to stick around until the end.
Now, here's some of the problems that you may be dealing with when pertaining to your mindset around fat loss. The first thing is a fixed mindset. Now, this is the mindset that is under the belief that you have to be talented or naturally gifted in order to achieve whatever outcome. And in this instance, it's losing body fat. You may look at some people and say, wow, how come Blake is able to just effortlessly be lean all the time? Or, hey, look at Billy over here. He lost 100 pounds and he's able to keep it off. Like, he must have something that I don't. And that's not the case at all. Scientifically speaking, everybody is capable of losing body fat. So yes, it is possible for you. You are not special. Maybe you're unique, but you're not special. And I say that respectfully. So with that being said, the fixed mindset, we do need to work on that. If you are under this belief that maybe there's something wrong with you because you have to put in this extra work, and I'm here to tell you that that is not the case at all or nothing mentality. Now, I see this a lot. Now, we're either 1 foot in or we're 1 foot out. There's no in between. And I think it's healthy to go all in per se, but leave the or nothing part out. What I mean by that is if you fail, say it's Wednesday, you're on point Monday, Tuesday, and you fail, you have a lot of people who will say, you know what, whatever, throw my hands up. Let me order some pizza. I'll start over Monday. Since I already screwed up, I might as well just keep going. That is the all or nothing mentality that we have to get away from. I have a client I can think of. I'm not going to say his name, but this gentleman in particular kept having an injury with his lower back and he could not exercise. Therefore, he thought, hey, you know what? I might as well not stick to my diet. Control the variables that you can control. I would consider that all in is doing all that you can with the given circumstances. So we got to get away from that. Going on a diet. If you follow me and you keep track of my content that I post, you'll see that I kick rocks at this quite a bit. The mindset that, hey, I'm on a diet. We got to get away from this too. Diet's not something you go on, and I'll elaborate on that. You're thinking too much about food. Maybe you're over obsessing about food. You're thinking about this way too much, whether it be at the social event, whether you wake up, when you go to bed, having a very food focused headset. And this tends to increase when we embark a fat loss journey per se. And then lastly, mindless eating. You have no idea how many calories you are consuming. Maybe you're grazing all the time. Maybe you're just consuming too many calories and you have no idea why. That's another very, very common issue I see that tends to pop up when somebody embarks a fat loss journey, is that they're just simply not being mindful enough. Social events and weekends. I'm actually going to make a whole nother video on weekends and social events in particular, but I wanted to cover them here briefly and how we can approach these with the right mindset. So first things first is to remember that social events is about the experience. It's not about the food. Food and beverages are simply a byproduct. I had a conversation the other day with a client. He is in a sprint right now. If you know what my solution is, my eternal fat loss solution, you'll see that one of the pillars is a sprint, which is simply being in a calorie deficit for a certain period. And he asked me, he's like, hey, can we stop the sprint on the weekend because I want to go to this putt-putt place and I want to have some drinks and some food and all this fun stuff. And I asked him the question. I was like, well, listen, would you enjoy yourself without getting tipsy, without indulging in certain food, cheesecake, whatever it is? Would you enjoy yourself? Yes or no? And he said, yes. I said, okay, perfect. Now, either way, you can't really go wrong. Yes, you can pull back in a cruise, which again, that's another pillar of the eternal fat loss mechanism, is bringing our calories up to maintenance to where we can enjoy events like that. But I asked him, I said, hey, like, do you feel like you can handle it this weekend and still enjoy yourself without that? He said, yes. Okay, perfect. So let's stick with the plan, which is the sprint. Remember, it's not about the food and the beverages. It is about the experience. It's about seeing your friends, enjoying that experience with them with putt-putt and all that fun stuff. It's not about the food and beverages. Just remember that. Make sure that you plan ahead. Now I always look at my calendar and I ask myself, okay, well, what events do I have planned here? Do I need to be in a sprint? Do I need to be in a cruise phase? Or do I just need to have a little bit of balance and make sure that whatever it is that I want at that event, does it fit my calorie range? scientifically speaking, with fat loss, as long as protein and calories are equated, we don't really see any difference when carbs and fats are interchangeable. For example, let's just say my calorie what puts me in a calorie deficit is 2,500 calories and 220 grams of protein. What I would personally do if I wanted to say, have a slice of pizza or whatever, if friends and I are going out, I would just make sure that that slice of pizza fits my calories and macros per se. Easy as that, but make sure that you plan ahead. Yes, you can wing this stuff, but it's better to plan ahead so that you automatically tell yourself ahead of time that, hey, I'm going to stick to the script. I'm going to stay on point. That's just simply improving your mindfulness per se. That's what I mean by planning ahead. Going back to mindfulness, that's all it is improving your mindfulness. And then lastly, simply don't make it a big deal. Look, if you're, again, going back to the first point, you're there for the experience and not the food. If you go to a social event, let's just say it's a football game and you're at the house, you guys are watching the Cowboys, and on the island, they've got all these finger foods laid out. They've got pretzels, bread, they've got nuts, they got all kinds of stuff, right? If that's distracting you, if it really is, remember, make your plate and move on. Don't graze. And if it's really distracting you that bad, try to stay away from that area of the place. Involve yourself in a conversation. Watch the game. Try to take your mind away from the food because, again, remember that you're not there for that food. It's great to have willpower and discipline and a really good mindset with nutrition overall. However, just like anything else, eventually the environment will win if you do not place yourself in the right environment or make alterations to the environment to make it more feasible for you to be adherent to nutrition. For example, your home environment. I've got a client. His name is Steve. Really good client of mine. He's been with me for quite some time now. For him, it was his work environment that was getting the best of him. We made alterations to his home environment. We made sure that his pantry and fridge, it was set up for him to succeed with his nutrition. But at work is where he was falling short. He's like, man, I can't stop snacking on these M&Ms. He had a massive jar of M&Ms at his work desk. I said, Steve, listen, if the right hand sends, cut it off. Now, I'm not saying it's sinful to eat M&Ms. The point is, remove the temptation. Simple as that. Not saying you can't have it, but again, don't set yourself up for failure. This goes for home and your work environment. If you like M&Ms, again, I'm not saying that you can't have that stuff in moderation, but if it is a trigger for you and it's preventing you from losing body fat because you can't stop grazing on it, you have to, one, you can completely remove it from your environment, or two, yes, you can bring it into your environment, but again, don't set yourself up for failure. Instead of buying the big jar, get the little packet. For myself, I love ice cream. This is a great example. I don't bring out ice cream into my house. I don't. Because if it's sitting there, I'm going to want to eat it. And I don't want to entice myself to go touch that hot stove. So if I want ice cream, I go out and I get it. Simple as that. And I get a reasonable serving size to where I can't overindulge, essentially. That's another example. So if your home or if your work has triggers in there, we either need to, one, remove it, or two, get the right serving size per se to where you don't overindulge. Now, the hard part here is peers. There's the saying, what is it? If you're hanging out with 5 drinkers or 5 alcoholics, you'll become the 6th one, something like that. Well, in this instance, maybe you're not surrounded by like minds who aspire to be healthy, to improve their health, their physique, their performance, whatever it might be. You're going to want to get around those people because you might become the 6th person, unfortunately, who is unhealthy. Maybe they're indulging in bad habits. They're drinking. They're binge eating way too much fast food. It's likely why you might be indulging in those activities as well, unfortunately. Now, I'm not saying you have to get rid of your friends. That's not what I'm implying at all, okay? But again, if you're going to want to thrive here in your health, then you have to get around people who are doing the same thing. So I strongly advise that you make friends at the gym. Maybe get plugged into a community online. Ask somebody to go to the gym with you. Hey, join my community. The point is you have to get around the right people and you have to alter your environment that reflects what you desire ultimately, and that's to be healthier, and that's to lose body fat, whatever your goal is. So instead of relying solely on willpower and discipline, simply make it easier on yourself. Now we need to make a mindset shift, starting with the fixed mindset, transitioning to a growth mindset. Now, as I mentioned, the fixed mindset is under the belief that, hey, I just don't have it. I don't have the ability to achieve X, Y, Z. There's something wrong with me because I have to work a little bit harder for it. Versus the growth mindset is, what can I learn from this? How can I get better? Failure is feedback per se. Now, there's a whole book on this that I highly recommend you read. It's called Mindset. I can't think of the author's name off the top of my head, but I will put a link in the description for you to read that. But it gives out several examples of what the difference is between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset in many instances. And in this particular case with fat loss, let's just say you've got two subjects, they weigh roughly the same, and they're looking to lose the same amount of weight. On the fixed mindset part, they think, wow, there's something wrong with me. It's my genetics. It's, hey, I just don't have the ability. I'm not athletic enough. Maybe I can't tolerate certain foods. And then in this other, on the growth mindset subject, they think, well, what can I do that will help me lose body fat? Yeah, maybe I don't have the best pair of genetics, but what can I do with the genetics that God gave me? And they're always looking for a way to achieve that outcome. And if they do run into any sort of roadblocks, they ask themselves, what can I learn from this? And that's what we've got to get to. Because maybe you're in that position where you've tried this so many times and you might be wondering, well, what is wrong with me? And I'm here to tell you that there's nothing wrong with you and that the failure is feedback. And again, it is possible for you. It's possible for everyone. And I promise you that. Next thing is having balance. Now, with the all or nothing mentality, there is no such thing as balance, unfortunately. Again, we want to leave out the or nothing part. Yes, we want to be all in, but there's no or nothing. It's not one or the other. Now, the balance part, think about this. Let's just say you are all in for 80% of the time in a calendar year. You zoom out, that 20%, that's a little pizza here and there. That's a drink here and there. But you're being mindful, to say the least. We can call that balance. Leave the or nothing part out, because if the or nothing part, it wouldn't be an 80-20. It'd more be like a 50-50, because again, if you look at the week, I'm not very good on the percentage here, but if you look at the week, the example that I use, Monday through Wednesday, you're on point, and then all of a sudden Thursday, you're off. Well, might as well start over Monday. That's not going to be an 80-20 is where I'm getting at. So have balance. Don't overly restrict yourself is where I'm getting at, because you don't want to feel like you're tied to a ball and chain when approaching fat loss. Now, a diet is not something that you go on. You hear many people say, I am on a diet. Listen, your diet is your habitual pattern of eating and nothing more. Don't ever say this again. Everybody is on a diet. Just be very careful with that inner dialogue of being on a diet, because it does promote extremes and it can lead to you adopting the all or nothing mentality, unfortunately. Now, how do we look at food? If you're very food focused, you have to remind yourself that food is fuel. Food is for nourishment and it's not for pleasure. It is not for pleasure. I'm not saying that you can't enjoy your food. That's not where I'm getting at. I'm not saying that you have to eat bland food. You can most certainly get creative with your recipes and whatnot, but we have to have a balance. There has to be a middle ground. Yes, it's fuel. It's for performance. It's for nourishment. It's for recovery. No, it's not just for pleasure, but yes, it can be for performance. It can be for nourishment, and you can enjoy it a little bit. But remember, at the end of the day, it is simply fuel. And lastly, we have to improve our mindfulness around food. So if you are in a boat where you have no idea what you're consuming, I simply recommend that you track what you're eating. Simply put it into a calorie counter, such as MyFitnessPal, and get an idea and start to become familiar with what the food is providing for you from a calorie standpoint, macronutrient standpoint, and micronutrient standpoint. Start to become aware of, again, what the food is providing for you. And then from there, you'll start to look at food a lot differently, because most people can't look at a plate and roughly know what it's providing for them from a standpoint of calories, macronutrients, etc. And it's important that we become familiar with that. Again, this is an easy action item that you can take today, is simply start tracking your food to improve your mindfulness.
I hope you found an immense amount of value in this video when pertaining to the mindset for fat loss. Now, if you are a man or woman of faith who aspires to lose body fat, keep it off eternally, no restrictive dieting, no giving up your social life, no spending hours in the gym, and you would like to get plugged into a community full of like-minded believers and have the one-on-one support from myself, click the link below, book a call in with me. What we'll do is we'll assess where you're at currently, where you're trying to go, and we'll map out a game plan to see what we can do to get you on the right track. Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay healthy and God bless.